Thank you so much for coming tonight. Welcome to White County High School. We are streaming this live, so if you want to fix your hair, because it might be on camera. But we are really excited that you are here tonight because we are concerned about this epidemic that has hit not just our students, but really teenage kids around the globe. And so there are just a few things that we would like to share with you, not only about the dangers of vaping, but about some specifics that we have been dealing with here at White County High School as well as at the middle school, and then what our plan is moving forward and how we're going to combat this, this epidemic. So if you were to research vaping, you would very quickly find lots and lots of news headlines, some from not very long ago to some from yesterday. It's something that has been in the news quite a bit lately. And so I know for our students, it has gotten, I would say, progressively worse just this school year. And it's something that, compared with last school year, has had a dramatic increase. And so we're very concerned both here at the high school as well as at the middle school about that. One of the most common e-cigarettes or vapes that we see and that's on the market is called a Juul. And a Juul is the small device right over here. It's quite small. Most people can hide it right in their hand. The smoke that is produced from it is really minimal, and so students can use it and just blow right into their hoodie, their scarf, whatever it is they're wearing, and you can't really even tell what's going on. This can even happen in a classroom, and with students not knowing what's going on, teachers not knowing what's going on. So one of the things that we have done is make sure we're educating our teachers in addition to our parents to make sure that they're aware of what could be happening in their classrooms. So the Juul, if you talk to the Juul company, they will tell you that it was created to help smokers stop smoking. According to their website, they have cigarette-like nicotine levels. However, when you look at a single Juul pod, and that's the pre-filled pod that just slides right into the bottom of the Juul that come in different flavors, there is as much nicotine in one Juul pod as there is in an entire pack of cigarettes. And some of our kids are going through multiple Juul pods a day, let alone a week, let alone a month. And so they are consuming very, very high amounts of nicotine in a very short period of time, which is actually causing them to become almost hyper addicted to these, to the nicotine. And so if you look over here, not only is there more or as much nicotine as in one pack of cigarettes, there's also, if you look at the Juul pod, compared to other countries, just what they are able to have regulated in, let's say, Europe, their maximum, and look at what the Juul is over to the far right. And so it's mind-blowing, really, when you look at it. So they say that it is, again, for people to stop smoking. And you may have heard the radio ads that they have out as well. But this is a news video that we would like to show you about that.
America's largest e-cigarette maker is under fire this morning. One state now investigating whether Juul markets to teenagers after a series of lawsuits accusing the company of trying to hook teens. Paula Ferris with the latest. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning to you, George. It's meant to help adult smokers quit, but teens are being enticed by the cool factor. The flavors, it's sleek, it's slim, you can hold it in the palm of your hand, and with flavors like Fruit Medley and Cool Mint, it's no surprise teens are getting caught juuling in school bathrooms, libraries, even under their classroom desks. They seen kids juul in class.
Juuling, it's named after this trendy vape pen, which is exploding in popularity, particularly among teens.
Kids are going to the bathrooms, smoking it in stalls.
But this morning, the company behind that pen is in hot water.
They're engaged in an effort to get kids addicted, to get them hooked, so so that they will have customers.
The Massachusetts Attorney General Tuesday says Juul Labs is failing to prevent minors from buying its products. She's announcing her office will investigate. And since April, at least 3 lawsuits have been filed, one citing ads like these from 2015, arguing they sell, quote, sophistication, sexual attractiveness, thinness, and popularity. The latest is from a mom in New York on behalf of her unnamed 15-year-old son.
He entered a school where Juul use was endemic, and as a result, he ended up trying Juuling and ended up very quickly completely addicted.
Vaping is seen in popular online tutorials like this.
Over 3 main things that you're going to need.
It works by heating up liquid nicotine that users inhale. One study in 2016 found that e-cigarette use increased by 900% among American high schoolers from 2011 to 2015. Freshman Margarita Ferreira says flavors like mango and mint enticed her to use.
Since I was exposed to fruit, obviously, and mango and mint, that I just thought it was okay.
She told ABC News in June she's been Juuling for about 1 year, and she started in 8th grade. Juul Labs, which has seen its sales skyrocket nearly 800% just in the past year, tells ABC News they actively work to keep their product from being sold to minors, and that their product is designed exclusively for adults, giving smokers a safer way to quit, and that no young person or non-smoker should ever try Juul, adding they're investing $30 million to independent research, youth and parent education, and community engagement.
Now, this is a stunning statistic. Young people need to know there is nicotine in this. According to a recent study, 63% of those ages 15 to 24 had no idea, but you saw those Juul pods. There's as much nicotine in one of those pods as there is in a pack of cigarettes.
And that's the health risk for teens.
That really is. And, you know, vaping, it's said to be safer for adults who are trying to break their smoking habit just due to the carcinogens, but there is no e-cigarette on the market that is safe for teens. Their brains are still developing. The nicotine is so addictive, and so much research has shown that using e-cigarettes, it's actually a gateway to smoking.
Wow, great information. Wow, thanks, Paula. Thank you.
So you notice that it said that they have invested $30 million in educating our youth. But Marlboro has invested over $20 billion in the Juul company. So in comparison, they're not really doing what they say they're doing. We're going. What'd you do? There we go. So at the high school, and you'll see over here, this is kind of a combination, and it's not all of what we have collected, but it's sort of a variety, so you can see how different these look. We got one today that we had never seen the type before. But these are Juul pods over here in the right-hand side, and Juul pods here. This is the packaging. They come 4 to a pack. And then you also have some Juuls in the picture as well. The one on the left was found on one student, and the one on the right, another student. And this was, a while back. But just to show you how many of these they're just going through. This one, when you add the caps and the pods, I think she had almost 30 empty Juul pods that had been used. And so, again, like I said, they were just becoming very, very quickly addicted to this. And it's almost like when you hear people say you're jonesing for a cigarette, we have kids that almost can't make it. They can't make it through a class period, through a day, because they are so addicted to the nicotine that is in these vapes. You want to go?
I know it's shocking for you that know me to see me holding a mic. I'm loud enough, but since we're Facebook Living this, that's why we're talking like this. So it's really just odd for me, so I apologize. So back in December, some of you guys have already heard that the Surgeon General came out, and he has declared this to be an epidemic. But what he has done is he has asked for us as parents, as school leaders, simply as community members, to take care of our kids and to fight back to help protect them. Because the biggest problem we have is our students and our families being educated about how dangerous these things are. We are shocked when we take one up and we have a child say, well, my mom bought me that. because it's better than smoking or safer than smoking because they simply don't know what they're putting in their bodies. So when we researched where your students can go to find a vape, and we just researched vape shops, this populates for us. So this shows you how prevalent they are, not counting the gas stations they can go to, not counting, I'm sure they can go to CVS and Walmart and Rite Aid and have older brothers and sisters take care of it for them. But these are just standalone vape shops. We have a couple here in town that you drive by every day that students can walk into. They have to be 18 to buy them, but they're still getting them. It's not just a problem for us as well, too. We've got some information from Fannin County. They're having a lot of problems with a substance that's called chronic juice. And the same thing's happening in Forsyth County, which we'll want to show you a video of what they're dealing with.
Hospital after overdosing on a vaping liquid that they had at school. Channels is Tom Regan now live in Forsyth County. And Tom, you talked with a seventh grader who said even kids her age are now vaping at school.
Yeah, definitely kids are picking up this habit at an earlier age, and it can be harmful. As you mentioned, 2 high school students were treated here at Forsyth Hospital this semester after ingesting a vaping liquid that kind of mimics a marijuana high but is a lot stronger. Here at North Forsyth High School, like most high schools in Metro Atlanta, vaping is all the rage.
I don't agree with it, and I never have done it, but I know a lot of people who do it at the school.
If you're passing out in the bathrooms, that's not real smart.
2 students smoking the vape liquid chronic juice overdosed and had to be taken to Northside Hospital, Forsyth. School officials say they were out of it.
Lethargic, not very clear in communications, and it had our staff concerned for their safety.
Chronic juice and similar synthetic marijuana vaping liquids are legal to buy for those 18 and over. But many young teens are using vaping products.
Are kids in middle school vaping?
This 7th grade student told me she thinks vaping is terrible, but she says other students at her middle school are doing it during the school day.
They talk about going into the bathroom, like a reserved time to go into the bathroom.
To vape? I found this video on YouTube. The man claims to be vaping with chronic juice. He goes on to describe the high. Teachers confiscate vaping devices, but some have deceiving appearances and are easily overlooked.
From the jump drives that you see to something that looks like a pen, they're using everything to vape with. We do know they're in our schools, and we're trying to eliminate it.
School officials are planning an information campaign to educate both parents and students about the potential harmful effects of vaping.
So we haven't, the guy's louder than I am. We haven't had experience with the juice called chronic juice, but we have had something that's called Blaze, which is essentially doing the same thing. And if you'll notice when we pass around the Juuls and we pass around those pods, those are pre-filled. So when students buy that, they're buying something that has nicotine in them. What they're doing when they put this chemical in them is they're using a vape that's like this, where the top can be removed, and they're pouring in whatever liquid that they have or that they've purchased, and that's what they're vaping. And the difference between one like this and the Juul is this gets far more technical. They can actually control how much they're ingesting at a time, how much they're getting sent into their system. So if it's a high nicotine product, they can actually turn it up so they're getting more into their system. And what we've done is we've set these over here for you. At the end of the night, we would like you to please come look at them to see the different kinds and really the problem that we have finding them. If you have a child walking around with a vape that looks like this, and again, the top comes off, and they can add whatever juice they want, and if they carry it in their hand, and we don't see that. So that's the problem that we're running in with these. But please, at the end, you'll come take a look at those. Don't take them, kids. So what's in? When we talk to parents about not knowing what's in the actual Juul themselves, you'll see here the prevalence of vaping just from last year to this year, the increase that has occurred, and this is across, but also what's in them. So if we take our seniors this year, we're saying roughly 20.9% of seniors are doing vapes. They're using these products. But of those 12th graders, if you look over here, the nicotine levels, the marijuana level, or the Juuling flavoring level, of that, almost 15% of those have a liquid THC or marijuana in them. So our students who might think that they're just doing the cotton candy one, which is what we smell a lot of times, it could have drugs in them. And so that's causing students to, not just in our, not in our schools, but in other schools we've seen pass out, have issues that paramedics had to be called in. So this is what we're running into, and not being able to tell what is in the liquid puts us on high alert because we don't know what our students are putting in their bodies. So what we've run into this year at White County High School, you'll see since August the 6th to now, we've had 109 total incidents, 109 times that we have caught a student with a vape. Now that 109 times could be we've caught one vape, but there might be 3 students sharing it, which is the other part that as a parent I go, God, it's awful. Because they'll go to the bathroom and they'll say, hey, I've got it, and they'll just pass it around. And so you could have that vape being touched by 50 different kids in a day and put to their lips. So 109 times we've caught it with a total of 79 different students. So what this tells us at the high school, we don't have a lot of frequent flyers in terms of catching them multiple times. I believe it was this week we actually caught our first 3-peaters. We had 2 kids that had been caught for the 3rd time, which under the new policy that we're going to, or procedures that we're going to talk to you about, they would have been all the way at the bottom of where we're going to go. When we talk to them, we always like to ask them too, would you touch a cigarette? And the results are almost comical. Oh God, no. Well, that's disgusting. That's so, Clearly not knowing what's in the vapes themselves. But one thing that really jumped out to us was just 1 week, 121 to 125. We took up more vapes that week than we had taken up cigarettes over the last 5 years at the high school. So just going to show you why we feel like we need to attack this now. Here's just some examples of what's in the product themselves, the chemicals that students are putting in their bodies. And when you show students this and you talk about this, they don't know. They're really surprised to see the kind of chemicals that they're ingesting when they use a vape.
I'm Mr. Collins. I'm one of the assistant principals at the middle school. And what we've seen in the same time period that the high school has seen, we've had 25 incidences with 20 different students. And the majority of the incidences that we have are with our 8th grade students. We've had stragglers here and there in 7th and 6th grade, but the majority of ours are the 8th graders. And they're starting to get theirs handed down from their older siblings. Like Mr. Wiley and Ms. Collier have said, parents are buying them for them because they think that it's better than cigarettes. But the biggest statistic that Ms. Geralds and I see is last year we had 3 vapes confiscated all year long. And this year, from August to February, we've had 25 confiscated. So that shows that there's a big jump in the e-cigarette, the vape use amongst our kids here at the middle school and at the high school.
And I'm Christy Geralds. I'm the principal at the middle school. And you heard Adam talk about that the Surgeon General on December 18th declared this an epidemic. We started our program by showing you nationally how it was a problem nationally. Then we showed you some areas where in the state, Forsyth County, Fannin County, where it's a problem. But then we want you to know it's real in our county. And we've got to stop and we've got to do something. So we met and we came up as a team and decided we were going to do the same thing. We were going to have the same policy so that kids 6 through 12 would know what we're up against. And we're going to try to stop it. One of the things that we're going to do to take action is a program called Warriors. And Mr. Dorsey and Miss McDonald at the Warriors Academy have come up with a program of, it's kind of like DUI school, but it's going to be for substance abuse. So when a kid is caught with a vape, we're going to require them to go to some Warriors training on risky substances. So they're going to spend 2 2-hour sessions at Warriors Academy after school hours to learn about how dangerous what they're doing is. So we think that's going to be real powerful in helping teach, because it's not just, we can't just discipline them. We need to teach them what's going on and teach their parents what the problem is. We've got to educate parents. One of the things that the Surgeon General said is it's time to take action, and he said that to teachers, educators, parents, anybody that has to do with children. I I feel a great responsibility for the middle schoolers and the high schoolers because we're sending them on to the high school. And right now, we don't know what the long-term repercussions are for people that are this addicted to nicotine at a young age. We know that nicotine affects their brain and has adverse effects to their brain. Their young adolescent brain is not fully developed until their late 20s. So we don't know for sure, and some longer than that. So 10 years from now, I don't want some of your children to come back to me and say, Miss Gerald, why didn't you tell me how dangerous this was? You know, I don't want your children to come to you and say, you bought me these vapes. You told me they were safe. Look, now I've got this, and this disease, or this, this problem with my lungs. So we've got to teach you. And so that's why you're here tonight, and we are so glad that you're here because it shows that you're actively involved in keeping your children safe. We had an educational night at the middle school on Tuesday night, same presentation. So if you're here, but you didn't go to that one, it's fine. It's the same presentation. And we're doing live tonight, the streaming live, so that people that aren't even here can enjoy the message and share with their kids. We're also putting it out in the newspaper, the local radio stations, to just inform people in our community of what's going on. And, of course, our social media, we're trying to blast it out on there, too. Educate teachers. One thing that we found to be very helpful, we did for them like we're doing for you. We wanted to teach them what's going on because when we put these items out on display for our teachers, they were taken aback. They were like, oh my gosh, that's what a vape looks like. That's what a Juul looks like. They've been plugging these into our Chromebook, charging them in the Chromebook. We thought they were a USB port. So it was very enlightening for teachers to see, oh my goodness. And when we'd catch them and say, well, where were you doing this? Well, in science class. And then we'd go back to the teacher and say, they were doing this in your class. No, they weren't. Yes, they were. And kids are really smart about it because the devices are so small. And then some of the vapor that comes out is clear now, so you don't even realize that it's happening. Or they'll puff it in their sleeve or in their sweatshirt. We found some YouTube videos on how you can make your own vaping sweatshirt and hide it from the people around you. So the challenge is before us to make sure we catch them, but we are trying to stay abreast of it and learn what's there. But we showed teachers what it is that we're up against, and like Ms. Collier said, they're coming in with new ones every day. So we're having to learn what's there and really hope that kids are reporting to us what they're seeing because they are helping us do that. But after we taught teachers, we had a lot of teachers then become proactive and say, hey, this kid, check that kid. And so we're thankful for that because now they're helping us in the fight against the problem, the vaping problem. We're also spending a lot of time educating our students, educating your children. Both schools have done videos that we sent out for kids to watch, that kids have watched. We're doing PSA videos during morning announcements at both schools, our social media. We're going to do some of the interventions and modules through our training at school that we're doing with the kids. And, of course, at the Warriors Academy, they'll have those modules, too. Well, what does the law say? You may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's against the law. The law clearly says it shall be unlawful for any minor, and that's someone under the age of 18, to purchase, attempt to purchase, or be in possession of vapor products. And like has already been mentioned tonight, most of the time when we say, is this your vape? No, it's not my vape. I'm just holding it. I just used it. Okay, 50 people have used it, like Mr. Wiley said, when we find that one person that's giving these out, we're going to get them. But most of them, so it's hard for them to understand, I was just holding it for my friend. Possession means you're holding it for your friend, and so you get the same consequence. So here's our proactive solution. Here's what we're going to do. Starting Monday, February 25th, our plan is this at both schools. The first offense, and we're going to start over. Even the three-peaters at the high school get a clean slate on February 25th to make this fair for everybody. On the first offense, so if those three-peaters get caught on Monday, they're going to get the first offense, which is 3 days ISS, plus they're required to do the 4-hour training at the Warriors Academy, which is the Warriors module. And their vape juice is not returned, okay, or vape or juice. The second offense is 3 days OSS, an additional 4 hours at the Warriors Academy for the module training, and again, the vape is not returned. If they're caught, if they're a three-peater again, then the action will be automatic tribunal or a waiver to go to the alternative school. So we're going to make it really tough because we want it out of our schools. It's dangerous for our children. We want our schools to be safe. And so this is how we're going to do it at both schools.
This, of course, is pending that what is in the vape is not an illegal substance as far as, THC, marijuana, that kind of thing. So we, like I mentioned earlier, we this week had our first, from August to February, had our first three-peaters. So it's not as common that they get to this point, but we hopefully will not have any get to this point after we have talked to the students, after we've talked to the parents, and educated them about not only the dangers, because we want them to not do it at all, but we especially don't want them to bring it to school and to be using it at school. Yes, so if they will be required to, in addition to the ISS or the OSS, attend that module. If they choose to not attend, then that puts them at the next level. Meaning, if they were to not, it was their second offense and they stayed home for 3 days, but then they didn't come to and attend the modules, that would mean that they would move to the third offense. So we want to make sure that that education piece is taking place. We don't want them to just serve their time and say, okay, I'm ready to come back to school. We want to make sure that they understand the dangers of vaping. So as Ms. Gerald's mentioned, those consequences will start Monday. And so your students have been talked to this week, both at the middle school and the high school. Teachers were talked to, our teachers last week, and I think theirs the week before. And so everybody knows about this, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to make sure that we inform parents as well, so that you all are aware of the stricter consequences that we have for vaping moving forward. So at this point, I know we've given you a lot of information, but at this point, if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask, let me scoot behind here. Yes, I apologize, but you do have to use the mic so we can pick it up. But does anybody have a question that they would like to ask about this?
What specifically constitutes an offense? Is it use? Is it possession? Is it either or? So the example, you walk in there and there's 3 kids in the bathroom doing it. Doesn't matter who's holding it. If all 3, they hit that first offense level.
Correct. It would be possession. It would be use. Yes, it does not have to belong to them for it to be considered an offense. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if there was any difference for like a 17-year-old versus an 18-year-old as far as the consequences or ramifications.
Not at school, because even though I know that Ms. Gerald's mentioned that it is against the law for, minors, but in addition to that, it's against the White County School Student Code of Conduct. So that's where we fall in our consequences fall. That's okay. Getting my extras.
Are you seeing any other illicit substances in the vape juice itself? Like, are you seeing any synthetic opiates or amphetamines? Sorry.
We have come across situations where, at least at the high school, I'm speaking for the high school, where it was, there were other substances in those as well, which is why we are so concerned. Now, again, if that were to test positive, or if it were to have one of those substances, then it would fall under the category of drugs, and it would expedite that process. Sorry.
We do have the drug test. We don't perform the drug test. We're not trained. So our SRO handles that for us. It gets handed off to her, and she handles the drug testing part of it for us. So we wouldn't handle that part.
And you may be thinking, okay, now what? Like, I'm scared to death. Now you've showed me all these things and I'm scared to death. The first step you've already done. You've come, you've watched the video, you're learning, I promise if you Google vapes, you'll learn more about vapes than you can have time to watch or learn about. But have conversations with your kids. We all have children. We've had those conversations with our kids. One of the statistics said 2 out of 5 students have experimented with vapes. So I'm a numbers person. I went to my kids and said, okay, you got 5 friends. Which ones are doing it? And they were like, Mom, for real? Talk to them. Talk to them in the car. Talk to them at dinner. Ask them questions. If you see something that looks funny in their makeup bag, pull it out. Say, hey, what's this? Let's talk about it. Because they may just think there's nothing wrong with it. It's, hey, Mom, it's just a vape. I'm not smoking. Some of them look like cosmetics, and they're hiding them in their makeup and cosmetic bags. So the first step is to just have that communication with them and talk to them. The second thing, and there's several students in the building tonight for this, and I'm so glad you're here. If you see somebody vaping, if you're one of those 3 in the bathroom and you see 2 boys vaping, what you need to do is get out. Get out and go find an adult. If you're afraid to tell, because you're afraid you're going to get, somebody's going to call you a snitch, you can email. Every student in White County High School and middle school have an email account. Email your teacher, email one of us, we'll take care of it. The high school also has, a tip line that you can anonymously leave a tip. I saw this student with a vape in the bathroom on the, cafeteria hallway today, and we'll search it down. Like, do your part. If you don't want your friends doing this, I promise you. So if you see it happening, report it. Tell an adult, email, have your parent go home, tell your parents. It's harder to track it down the next day, but at least we're aware of who's doing it so that we can find it the next day. But any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does this also include like after school events, like all sporting events, even if they're on trips?
So is your question if they're using it on a trip? Yes, so this would apply to any school-sponsored event. So if our students are at prom, or if they're at a baseball game, if they're in Jekyll, I know that's where some of your kiddos are right now, it would apply. Yes, sir.
You said that you made teachers in the middle school and high school aware of vaping, so they had some kind of training?
We talked with them similarly to the way that we're talking to you tonight, and then we brought out, in addition to these, basically almost every single one that we have ever seen in this building and in the middle school to make sure that they know exactly what to look for. But again, we got one today that we have never seen as an admin team, and that's out of 100 and something that we've caught just this year.
So those modules that the students have to view, will the teachers in White County have access to those modules?
One of our high school teachers is one of the ones that's running it. He is an EMT and as well as a health teacher, and so he's one of the ones that has agreed to do this program with our students, and so he has access and can share it with our teachers as well as the high school teachers. And I know that you might think that, oh, my sweet 6th grader doesn't know anything about vaping, but I promise you it's starting, like they mentioned in one of those videos, younger and younger. And so one of the things that we would like to do, in addition to what we've done this year, is next year talk to our 5th graders about it in an appropriate way, but talk to our 5th graders about this, because we want to make sure that they aren't caught off guard, to say the least. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
One other question. Just what authority or can coaches or band leader or whatever in any kind of extracurricular activity, or if it's a first offense, is there a set procedure by which they would, if it's for anything, if they have in-school suspension or whatever, they have punishment? But do coaches have the ability within their programs to just say, you know what, we have a rule, if you're caught, you're off the team? I mean, do they have those kind of authority to do that?
Yes, and our coaches, just so you know, our students who are let's say I was in in-school suspension today. I was scheduled for in-school suspension because I was vaping or doing something else. If I had a tennis match this afternoon, I would not be able to attend that tennis match. Same thing with out-of-school suspension. So there is that ramification. But a lot of our coaches, in addition to those rules, have more strict guidelines, and those are usually presented during a parent meeting at the beginning of the season, and they outline all of that. Whether it's, you miss a certain percentage of games, you have to sit out for, 2 weeks, whatever it might be. But yes, our coaches do have that ability.
What happens if you do not attend the Warrior modules and you're supposed to, as far as an extracurricular activity, if you're part of that?
Precedence over your activity, because that's part of, and the Warrior modules aren't going to happen every week. Since it's going to be after school, it's going to be those 4 hours, they'll be scheduled out. So you might get, Coach Dodson, I might take a vape from you today and say, okay, your ISS starts tomorrow, but your Warrior modules aren't until March 21st and 22nd. So you've got time to plan, you've got time to go to your coach and say what's going on. But because we don't offer them as frequently, and we're, to be quite frank, we're taking the educational part of this very, very seriously. We're not going to stop this unless we show our kids how dangerous these are. Then that becomes real important to us. Then they go to the next step. So if I'm a first offender, we're still in the process of talking if we want to put something formally in place for that. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Anybody else?
Again, thank you all so much for coming. I know that, like Ms. Gerald said, it can be a little overwhelming, but really having those conversations with your kids can go a really long way. So we appreciate your support by being here tonight, and we appreciate your support by speaking with your students about it. If you have any questions on your way out, or actually before you leave, on your way out, please make sure you come by our sample table up front, and then there is also some more brochures in the back if you'd like to grab one. Thank you. Thank you.